Okay, so the topics we're going to cover, guys, just for today is the SMSF basics, how to set up an SMSF, how to link an existing account to your SMSF in TFXi, and how to grow your SMSF strategically, and which fund managers to connect to, what we're recommending. Again, these are all just recommendations, nothing is advice. So disclaimer, I'd like you to read this. It is our standard disclaimer. Basically, anything here is just my personal views, the presenter's personal views, and when Pops Matthew and Michelle share, it's their personal view as well. So anything you decide to do, you need to get financial representation from your professionals and get them to pass through this the decisions that we've discussed here, that you make some decisions of your own. So if you guys are okay with that, please don't, no recording allowed. Although we are recording privately just for our quality, and if it is a recording we can send out to you guys, we will do that. We'll let you know, but you can't be recording it on your personal devices. So if everyone's okay with that, and there are about 39 of us here, I need to see 39 yeses. Please, with disclaimers, something like what we've got there. Thank you. Just wait a few more minutes for everyone to be comfortable with that. Something also for all of you investors, as you present this to others as well, make sure you have disclaimers, make sure you are very clear that you are not giving advice. I still hear people sometimes saying, my advice to you is blah, blah, blah. And if you are an investor in here and advising others, it's a very dangerous thing. So please don't do that, okay? We're very strict on that, especially if you're from Australia. The Australian laws, you can really get into a lot of stifle if you don't have the right qualifications. Pops, agree with that? That's something we were told from the beginning, right?
Yep, correct.
Yeah, so be very careful. All right, guys, just some basics here. How does SMSF work? So a self-managed super fund is a private super fund that you manage yourself. SMSFs are different to industry and retail super funds. When you manage your own super, you put the money you would normally put in a retail or industry super fund into your own SMSF. You choose the investments and the insurance, okay? So each year need to understand what your assets are, get accounts and statements, appoint an auditor, annual returns, do annual returns. Now, basically, a good accountant will do this for you and do this with you. So my accountant has appointed an auditor. Any information and questions I have between my accountant and myself, she passes on to this external auditor, confirms everything before we go ahead to do what we decided to do. So, but just be aware of your obligations. What is the benefit of an SMSF? It could offer significant benefits in retirement. Trustees can potentially access direct shares, high-yielding cash accounts, term deposits, income investments, direct property, unlisted assets, international markets, collectibles, and more. Now, we're obviously going to be focusing on the managed funds and internationally, so which is the Forex, the closest I can connect you to the Forex investment side of things. But in general, SMSFs can be used for multiple things. So if you do bring your funds into it, if you haven't set one up, you don't have to put all your monies into TFXi. Put a portion of it in, and you decide how much you want to grow that portion, or how much of a portion you want to put in and how much you want to grow from it. How much money do you need for an SMSF? The recommended amount is around 250,000 to be cost effective. However, having said that, the reason people say that is because SMSFs have been growing around 3 to 4%. Some of the good ones have been at about 10%. So if you've got, say, about 100,000 in, like I've just got a friend recently, she's got about 100,000. When she called the accountant said it's not worth doing because if she was getting about 3 to 4%, that's 3,000 to 4,000 a year. And therefore paying the accountant about $2,000 to get everything done every year is not worth it. However, when she explained that she's got a fund that can yield her up to about 40 to 70%, then 100,000 is giving about 40 to 70% in interest if she puts the whole lot in. Therefore, it makes it suitable. So again, be aware that this is what your accountant would say, about 250. This is what is recommended. But again, remember, if you're going to put some amount into TFXi, just work out the numbers before around it. You will need to pay the annual supervisory levy to the ATO and arrange for an accountant to prepare the financial statements and tax return and conduct an independent audit. If you can have individual trustees. Usually, if it's more than one person, you've got both options. If it's just one person, what I've been told is that you can only have a corporate trustee. Okay, and again, how you set up the structure, speak to your accountant. Disadvantage of SMSFs, the main disadvantage over a retail superannuation fund are costs associated with the SMSF and legal compliance and compliance obligations, and then making decisions on which best way, which funds you're going to perform in. Having said that, because we're taking it from the point of view of a TFXi side of things, there's an advantage to using SMSF that will be useful to you when you get closer to retirement age, because from the age of 60 onwards, you can start accessing those funds. Cost of establishing and running an SMSF, roughly between $1,000 to $4,000 to establish. More expensive to establish a corporate trustee. Additional costs include annual running costs, which may be variable, semi-variable, or fixed. Example of fixed cost is the annual supervisory levy of $250 per year to the ATO. Auditor fees are semi-variable costs as the fee changes with the level of services used, and costs associated with investments such as brokerage fees are variable costs. Okay, so something to just be aware of again. Do you pay tax on SMSF? The answer is yes. The income of your SMSF is generally taxed at a concessional rate of 15%. To be entitled to this rate, your fund has to be a complying fund that follows the laws and rules for SMSFs. For a non-complying fund, the rate is the highest marginal tax rate. Okay, so making sure that if you set up an SMSF, it's complying, it's a complying fund, that gives you this amazing advantage of 15% and 10% on different types of investments within the SMSF. Okay, just give me a thumbs up or a one if this is making sense to you, so that we're running okay with this, because I'm running through it a little bit quicker just to open it up for more discussion time for today. So everyone okay with this?
Ruben, what is the difference between the personal name and the super or SMSF? Like, why is it so high?
Oh, this is if you were to personally have an investment capital, you could pay tax maximum up to 49%.
So if you don't have an SMSF.
Correct, if it's under your personal name.
Right, thank you.
Same thing with income. So if you had income above, let's say $200,000 of income, you could be paying a maximum of 49 again. But if that money was put into a SMSF and you could contribute up to 24,000 a year, and you can contribute up to about 5 years currently, which is excellent.
Yep.
You only pay a 15% maximum tax.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks.
Big difference. Yes. Good question on that. And capital gains, same thing. Up to 49%. If you buy a property, for example, sell it before 12 months, you could be paying, it's added to your personal income. If that income is high, up to 49%. If it's through the SMSF, you only pay 15%. Okay, so
when you say through the SMSF, it means that you have purchased it through your SMSF company or trustee, whatever it's called.
Correct. So your SMSF has purchased the property and sold it within 12 months.
Okay.
And so your CGT would be at 15%. If it's over 12 months, your CGT is at 10%, but only 50% of your capital gains tax. If it was under your personal name, you could be paying as high as 24%, 24.5%.
Right. Thank you.
Not a problem. So SMSFs in TFXi, how does that work? And reason why most of you guys are on today. Before you can fund a portion of your SMSF in TFXi, make sure you have spoken to a financial expert about your financial goals and ensure your SMSF is set up and ready to invest from. You can either set up an SMSF account in a new fund manager registration that you have not yet registered under your personal name. And examples are Takami, DS, Daisheng. Remember that we have lately been recommending the 5 funds of Tokyo's Finest, AMG, GMC, Yuri, and Nikkei. So you would have registered those under your personal name most likely, or if it was an entity, your name would be in it. So you can't now register your SMSF fund as well, because it'll have a duplicate name appearing and they would not accept it. So if you haven't signed up under Takami, DS, Daisheng, that might be the better way to go with your SMSF. So that's one strategy. The other strategy, which is the one I've used personally, and I found so many advantages to this, is you can choose to set aside one or more of your existing fund managers under one or more of your personal names that are also in your SMSF setup specifically for your SMSF investments. This is done by creating a legal document called a declaration of trust. Consult further with your accountant or financial planner regarding this. Okay, so this is what my accountant has done for me with conversation with the auditor, and they have agreed that it's possible to do this. So I'll give you an example. So you have, and the way this will be of advantage to you is depending on what your goals are. You can either have an SMSF set up for passive growth. So say I have a trust called Sarvanathan Trust, and that's my SMSF, my self-managed super fund. So I can just choose to have an investment there that's like more for passive growth, takes my time, it's not aggressive. And so if my investment goal for retirement is passive growth or an initial trial, then the recommendation is to use the lower earning fund managers, such as DS or Daisheng, okay? And keep the other higher earning funds for your personal financial growth. Because remember, the high earning funds that are giving us about 70% to 80% returns, if you use any of those for SMSF, you can't access that money till you're 60 years of age. Note, you cannot take out profits from your SMSF before retirement for personal income. These are the current rough estimates of your average return for DS and Daisheng. So you're looking at around a 54% for DS and a 45% for Daisheng, which is a very good compared to what the industry super funds are. Like, anyone know what their super funds are currently giving them? Not the SMSFs, but the industry-based super funds. Anyone know roughly what the returns are? As far as I know, on average, it's been about between 1 to 3% on a good day and negatives, and the best ones have given about 10% max.
Yes.
Type it in if you want to say, oh, was that Shalindra who was giving us, who was unmuting and telling me an answer?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, okay. So even on a good day, we're not going past 10, 12% on the industry super funds. Putting it in a self-managed super fund, look at the even if it's just DS and Daisheng that you put your money into on a what we call a slow passive growth, different from passive income, talking about just passive, slow growth over the next 10, 20, 30 years, depending on your age and when you want to access your funds. This is brilliant. Okay, so this is one way. The other way is where you get more aggressive, and I've given you an example of what I've done. So under my personal name, I might have Daisheng, Nikkei, Yuri, AMG, GMC, Tokyo's Finest, and DS set up. And under this, I have some family members, myself and my wife. My mom and my wife. So under my wife, what I've done is I have put her funds specifically for SMSF. On a particular date, we've transferred money into there and said, from this date, this money is my SMSF funds. Okay, so that's more aggressive growth, and that gives me a quicker return. Here's an example of how, through compounding, you got to love compounding, you can grow your super to 10 million within 10 years. Say you've got 100,000 in your existing super, and say we look at about a 60% return. That's based on DS inclusive here, and it's over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 funds, which is good diversification. In 10 years, you can grow your 100,000 to 10 million. Like, how many of you think that's better than what you're currently getting? Give me some love on the chat group, because because that to me is very exciting, guys. Okay, so it's learning how to create wealth and be smart about it. If the system's already there to work, it's amazing. Yeah, absolutely mind blowing. Now, how many of you at least have 10 years before retirement? Because if you've got at least 10 years before retirement and you're still working, you've got the ability to have a super fund access of 10 million. And even if you have like 300,000 in your super, you only need to put 100,000 in and keep that for 10 years. Okay, this is brilliant. If you do it for 15 years, it'll grow to 115 million.
Ruben, just
Yep.
a question, if you don't mind. In terms of the second approach that you presented for declaration of trust, I think this is the model that you're talking about. Let's just say I'm there and my wife is there. Both of us are part of super.
Yep.
Let's just say I have a personal account and my wife has a personal account.
Yep.
So you do a declaration of trust on either one of them. For example, let's just say Ruben and Roshni there. Roshni would be doing the declaration of trust. Okay? And the money that goes into Roshni's account is the one that will be dedicated for super.
Correct. Yeah. And the reason why I do the one under is because you as personally could still get, it's better for you to get the commissions and the rebates.
Yeah.
Any commissions and rebates that come in the super fund will be taxed. And remember, you've got a limit of 24. This year, it's about just over 24,000 of extra that you can put in yourself.
27.
27. About 27,000. So if you're and your commissions exceed that, then you start paying a higher rate than 15%, because now
No, also if under Self-Managed Super Fund, you can't treat it as a business. So you cannot take commission and referral fees into your super fund.
Accountant has said something different on that, Pop. So that's
So
something.
my accountant say we certainly cannot do business in super fund.
Yeah. So it's not treated as a business, but something we wouldn't suggest that you continue to have people growing under you. But if you've already got existing people, then again, talk to your accountant and get them to talk to the auditor. My auditor has passed that it's okay with the existing ones.
Okay.
But I can't, but I shouldn't be putting new ones in.
Yeah.
Just
Exactly.
a little more clarity there. So let's just say that's the model, Ruben, Roshni, and what is the Gertrude SMSF? What is that account?
Basically, what I've done in this case is it's Gertrude that I've put as the SMSF with the declaration of trust, and so Rohini is where I put most of my income, so that I get the rebate and the commissions back to me. Okay, so that's what we always recommend. If you've got a family, number of people in a family, this is how you can increase your commission structure and your rebate structure.
So when I register with TFXi, I will have a personal account. Let's just say my wife will have a personal account, and there will be a third account, which is more an SMSF account. And that's where the SMSF money will go, and that will have a declaration of trust, is it?
So these are three different people. So this is me, this is my mom, and this is my wife.
Okay.
Now, because we live together and we do our business together, we can do this. So if it's just two of you, forget about Rohini. It'll just be myself and my wife. And so what I might have suggested then I would have done is I might have just taken two of these high funds like Nikolay and Yuri, and only those two would be under Gertrude's SMSF, and the rest would be our personal growth. Okay.
Dinesh, just to answer your question, in this big chart, if you know Ruben is his personal account, his wife is designated as the self-managed super fund. Rohini is also is a personal account. Now you can't have your name, Dinesh, on top, and your wife at the level one down, and then open a self-managed super account under both of you, because that TFI will not accept it because duplicate names.
Yep, got it.
Okay, right.
And
Good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And also, Gertrude SMSF that previously used to be her personal account, but with the declaration of trust, it has been converted into a SMSF account.
Yes, and you empty out the previous amounts.
Yeah.
And you start fresh with the self-managed super fund money.
So you got to show clear pathway that you have started, you've put in an amount of money, you've contributed, an amount of money on a certain date if you're going to go down this path of a personal fund. The other advantage of a personal fund is, as you can see with Takami coming in, before we had these Nicolay Uri, AMG, GMC, and Tokyo's Finest, DS was our best performing fund. So, in the future, we might have these guys might become like the DSs that aren't performing as well. We might get a better one like Takami and others. So with being under a personal name, I personally am able to decide at a certain date that this particular fund manager will no longer be used for SMSF. And I can convert it back to a personal fund by just changing the declaration of trust. Whereas if the account was signed as an SMSF entity, that would be a harder thing to do. So that's just some of the advantages that I found. And we found also registering personal names is a lot quicker and easier and less hassle in TFXi. From TFXi's point of view, they don't have anything to do with monitoring your SMSF funds. So they don't care in that sense whether you decide to do your SMSF under your personal name or under the SMSF funds. As long as you've met the legal obligations in Australia, that's the most important thing.
Just one more question before you go ahead. The declaration of trust, is that a self-declared note to the accountant, or is there a kind of template for it?
So there is a template which a few people have asked me for. I don't have it yet because my accountant is still working on it. So what happens is I've got to give information to my accountant. She gives it to the auditor. The auditor creates the template and then brings it back, and then we sign it. Okay, so because I started this financial year, I don't have, but there is a template, but it is customized for each person.
It's an individual declaration. It's not a blanket thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, I hope
Rubens, just one more question.
Can we hold the questions until Q&A time, guys? Otherwise,
I'll do one more and then I'll
okay. Yeah. All right.
Who was asking the question?
Myself, Rajiv.
Yes, Rajiv.
So this Gertrude SMSF, is that on a single name or single individual trustee, or it's like multiple? You are also involved in this trust. You are also one of the trustees.
This Gertrude S is my wife's name. Don't worry about SMSF. I just put it there saying that I have designated this as an SMSF account, whereas these two are personal accounts, the one under my name and my wife's and my mom's name.
Yeah.
Okay.
So your SMSF, is it on a single individual, or it's a multiple individual trustee?
It's just a single individual.
Single individual. So if I already have a SMSF which has two names, like myself and my wife, then I can't do that, right?
So, okay, then you would do the previous slide, which is here, where you would create an SMSF account. Okay, so Sarvanathan Trust is an account that has both my wife and my name. And if you create that, you can't have any other accounts in, say, under Nicolay. If I created a Sarvanathan Trust and registered it in TFXi, I can't then register either my wife or mine as a personal name. Okay. What I'm doing in this next slide, go down to the next slide, is ignore the things in capital. I have three accounts there under personal names. My personal account, Ruben Sarvanathan. My wife's personal account, Gertrude Sarvanathan, and my personal account, Rohini Sarvanathan. Okay, and they were all personal accounts that were running personally for the last few years. As of the 1st of July, I've taken some of my wife's fund managers and written a declaration of trust with the accountant, taken out the money from there and put in contributions from Super and set this up name as representing our SMSF contributions for the trust in Australia. Okay, but in TFXi, it's under her personal name.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Good question. Let me go to a couple of other slides, guys, and I'll be finished. No question. If you guys don't mind, I'll mute you all just for the sake of the recording as well. Sorry, Pops, I did mute you, but feel free to unmute and interrupt anytime. Okay, setup requirements. Sign up using the link. So if you're setting up an SMSF entity in TFXi, not a personal account, then sign up using the link of your IB above you. Under the name, put your SMSF name. So this is on the online form. Under date of birth, put the incorporation date of the SMSF. Under proof of ID, include the company extract of the SMSF plus the IDs of all the SMSF beneficiaries as noted in the SMSF company setup. Under proof of residence, include the SMSF bank statement showing the SMSF address plus proof of residence of all the beneficiaries. Remember, all proof of residence has to be less than 3 months old. Consent form to be signed by all the beneficiaries of the SMSF. Oops.
One more thing missing that Ruben is under the ID you should put the ACN number or the ABN number.
Under the
Not
ID.
IB. Under the IB ID, not IB ID.
Under ID. All right.
Yes. Yeah. That's missing here. Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys want to take a screenshot of this, this is the these are basically the documents required and the process if you're signing up an actual entity, your SMSF entity with TFXi. Okay. If you're doing it the way I've done it, which is a personal name, that's perfect. Then you don't have to do this. Okay, you just do the declaration of trust. Okay, guys, so that is pretty much what I want to cover. So I'm going to stop my share there and open it up to some questions.